What I've just done is obviously changed the belt on my sander, and the one I've removed, I'm not going to get rid of that yet because there is actually some life left in it. Now, to actually use what would be, I think I buy these as an 80 grit, and when they wear down, you're getting a similar effect to something that may be, I don't know, 240 grit, but it's not the same because it'll always run slightly hotter, I feel. And I'll do you a little diagram of what I'm on about. Hopefully you should be able to see my drawing board. That's better. So when you get your grits, you'll end up with something like P40, which is something like 40 grits or grains to 1 inch. Okay, so obviously your P360 will be 9 times smaller, those bits of grit. It'll be 360 grains to 1 inch. Now what you're looking at is when you get a P40 is visibly you can see the lumps of grit that's on there. So if you have a look at the things, you'll end up with something like that bonded to your belt. So every time that belt flies round, this piece and maybe a little bit of that will be connecting with your metal and scoring it away. As it wears down, it's not such an abrupt point there, and so you're only really hitting it on the sides there. It's not as abrupt. As you end up wearing it down to nothing, that's the smooth feeling you're getting. But if you have a look at the surface area that's actually working on the metal, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and all of that, the actual surface area is increasing. That's why the blade gets hotter faster. So you may get a smoother finish as it wears to this state, but watch the temperature. Okay, be prepared to dunk it more often and not mess up the temper of your blade. Yes, I mean, I'm only buying 80 grits and I'm getting a smoother finish when it gets down to the worn state, but I'm very conscious of what the temperature is doing, so I'm not going to mess up the temper of the blade after I've heat treated it and tempered it to a vaguely well performing hardness. Okay, so I mean there are guys, and I would actually go out of the way and say, yeah, get your 40 grit, go to your 80, do your 120, maybe 360, maybe bump up to 800, and then you could do your linishing at the end of it and really shine it up. Each one is the correct thing to do. You're working that way in terms of your grain, and when you're doing your finishing, instead of getting scores like that in your metal, okay, that your finishing will get better and better as you go on, and when you get to this sort of stage, buffing's starting to work. Okay, I mean I use, what's the stone on my ice bear? It's 1,000 and 6,000, so 1,000's near 800. You can start, you'd end up with, I don't know what the satin finish is around, maybe 400 or 600, and you end up with that lovely brushed look. Once you start going, you can start polishing, but don't expect to be able to use, I don't know, an 80 worn down to get a reasonable finish like an 800, because you'd be using it so flat you'll be heating your blade up crazy. Whereas if you're actually using 800 grains, you're actually getting loads of little pieces like this, giving it that lovely appearance. Yeah, we can get away saving pennies, but if you can afford it, do it properly. Just a little word on what I'm doing. So I'm now whacking a brand new 80 on because I want to get the stock removed from the wooden handle without the heat going down the pins and buggering up the epoxy or burning the wood. Because if I end up burning the wood, I might not get us a good seal either if I start making these things too hot. It'll always run cooler using a grit that's new than a grit that's worn. It'll always run cooler. Can you see the air gap that will be there? And the surface area that would be there. So no messing about. Near the end of this thing now, I don't want to ruin it. Brand new belt on there. Okay, let's get going. Alright, the other thing was, if you notice when you get your stock, if you had a piece of 01 tool steel and it comes in its 500mm length, the grain would go lengthwise. Okay, if you had a piece of wood that was this way, you want the strength to be that way, so you'd sand with the grain. You keep going in the same direction. So if you sand wherever you're going to go on the sander, you go like that all the time if you can help it. Now, I got a nice long length there, but going that way on wood, you'll actually start lifting out slight bits of the grain. It's not the end of the world, but if you're trying to finish off metal at a later stage, it's always worth staying in the same direction, working in the same plane. You grind down whatever grit you're going to get to, and you can actually buff and stop at any section, at any sort of grain finish. I suppose you could do 40 and 80 and then buff it down if you wanted to keep that look. But you wouldn't be able to go, oh, I'll sand it that way on a 40 and I'll sand it that way on a 120, because you'll end up trying to go through, cut through the lines you'd already made, or crisscross, and end up taking out more than you need. Stay in the same direction. Now what I'm going to do at the moment is, because I haven't got the best extractor hoover thing in the world, I'm going to get the worst of it off with manpower. Not necessarily that rasp, but that means I keep the dust down. It's a little bit easier to contain dirt, and it's quieter, and it's the fine dust. I don't want it in the air. So I'm going to rasp out the worst bit, and just as the rasp is catching the metal, that's when I'll stop. Rasp. Now obviously it's in the vise, you wouldn't leave it in the vise. I'm working here, the blade is up, the sharp edge is up, the point is like that. You can work on it like that because you are aware of the sharp edge and the point. When you finish with it, put it somewhere like that out of the way in case some kid comes in. I've said it before and I'll always say it again. Okay, so it's in the vise, quite high, because I'm trying to achieve that. The more I take off with this physical hand tool, the less I've worn my belt, the less dust is in the air, and the less I've got to wear ear defenders. Pain in the arse. So I'm just on that good old horsepower. Say, beware that sharp edge. You can put tape on it if you want, but wear it, you're wearing it. I don't know whether it's just me, but it's all well and good using machines when, you know, it saves a lot of time. But this is a hand tool. I think it's nice in the stages of making a hand tool, you use hand tools. Just gives it a bit more respect, really, rather than turning up a simple thing with something that's complicated. I don't know, this is just me. It's like, you know, if you're making a bow, it's nice if it's finished by hand. A couple of hours put in, just by hand, just finished it off with the tool. Make a machine with a machine. Make a hand tool. Some parts of it, some stages, by hand. Gives it a bit of authenticity, or I don't know, just feels right to me. Anyway, what I'm doing is I'm coming at an angle, so I'm actually gently profiling it around and taking off a lot of wood rather than the sander, just to keep the dust off. With my beat up 30-40-year-old rasp. I know I'm different. I just am. I don't know, perhaps it's more, you've given it more time, or more attention, or your personality in it, because you've sweated over it, or you've got your temperament in it. Yeah, you sweated to get it out. So I've given it a light sort of angle like that. Already that's better in there. Right then, give it the old noisy thing then. I don't worry about sissying out and wearing a rubber glove because I'm holding the blade end. So, what I've done now is I'm not going to go too much further because this is the first time I've done a pair. So what I'm going to do is I've got this to this stage where it's got that sculpted ergo sort of organic look to it. It's my bird's head handle, sort of pommel end, looks like a bird. It's got wastes to it. Your hand fits in. Still a bit big at the moment, but I'll wait till I get the other one. I'll get that to this stage, and as a pair I'll creep them down to be as matched as possible. Because I haven't done many production runs because, you know, very low volume. But as far as my little king's done tonight, that's it. I've been on there plenty of time. My hands are just beginning to hurt with the vibration. The vibration is the where the belt's joined up there. They scarf it in, so basically it's sort of like took half the grit off and half the bottom off and joined it together, and you get the feeling every time. This one's a lot better. There's hardly any feeling on this. It's a far better machine. The Aldi one, it really, but you know, the time will come when I'll be able to use that end on some little bushcraft noise. These little sections in there will be perfect for the end roller on that, and the speed's better. But anyway, I've used that because I can use far cheaper than these accessible belts at the moment. I had a job lot really cheap, so they're all 80. I bought 15 of them for like £11 or something. So I'm just using what I got. Got it to a decent stage, and I'll bring the other one up to here. It's 9:30 at night, and I've only been out here about an hour and a half. So let's go watch a film with my wife. Finish off winding down. So there it is. The Berserker. Oh, you know what you want to see. Dashable, look at that. What a monster. So, big, chunky, bird handle. The Berserker. Thanks for joining me again. Little tips and everything. Scott from Wessex plays with Berserker. See you on the next one.